Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post these videos when I get a chance. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other damn therapist for that matter. Boom! Shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. There's over 30,000 therapists working for them. I've gotten great feedback from people using them. So thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay. Whew. So much to talk about. I just got back from vacation. I'm a little jet lagged. So hopefully I will be able to stay on point here. So I wanted to talk about safety and current events are kind of going together. So on Saturday, we had an assassination in Minnesota of two political people. House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were killed. And then Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette were injured. So that's what I know about that. And the guy who did it, I'm not going to use the term man because he's not a man, because he's a coward, dressed up as a police officer. So what does this have to do with survivors of abuse? Okay. How do psychopaths learn to, psychopath? They watch to see what's successful. How many times have criminals dressed up as police officers to carry out whatever nefarious thing they wanted to do? And the sucky thing of it is, in order to stop them, you have to catch them. And think about this, because this is safety, okay? We, as children of narcissists, were indoctrinated to listen to authority, okay? We were told to believe our abuser, and we were told to just go along with it, and we were told what else as kids? Oh, well, if you get in trouble, find a police officer. Okay, well, this destroys the trust in the police, number one. But number two, psychopaths pretend to be authority figures in order to carry out crimes. This happens all the time. It's not publicized all the time, but it does happen frequently. And it is a class 6 felony in Arizona to impersonate an officer. There are also federal laws against this, which is why I find it horrifying that ICE doesn't identify themselves, doesn't have badges, doesn't, because how do you know who's really ICE, who's really a police officer, and who's just a person with really bad intent? So these are things that we have to think about. So the person who assassinated the two political people in Minnesota presented himself as a police officer. He had police gear on. He had a gun. He had a car that looked like a police car. They sell this stuff online. So it's on eBay. It's on Amazon. You can get this gear online. It's surplus stores. They have it online. It is dangerous for us because how many times do narcissists, psychopaths, control freaks, so the dark triad, how many times do they try to intimidate us with the police? Or how many times do they get their buddies to try to intimidate us? A lot. It happens a lot. Not necessarily them dressing up as cops, but here's the thing. Psychopaths look to see what's successful. They mimic. Okay, they don't have genuine emotions. They mimic emotions. They learn how to manipulate the emotions. So they look to see what's successful. And then they will absolutely try to do whatever this person has done that has been successful. So what I'm telling you now in this little intro here, current events, this assassination is not just an isolated thing. So if you are confronted with somebody who is claiming to be a police officer, absolutely ask for identification. Do not open your door. You are under no obligation to open the door, okay, unless they have a warrant and unless they identify themselves properly. The other thing you can do too is if you're not expecting police to show up at your door, call the police and be like, hey, guy out here claiming to be a police officer, did you send someone? So that's what you want to do. And if they didn't, which is more than likely the case if it's a person with ill intent, then ask them to send a police car because, hey, this guy's armed. He's saying he's a police officer. He wants into my house. Please send somebody. So you have the right to do that. This is why knowing your rights is so important, and knowing how to protect yourselves. The thing that they are playing on, okay, and I'm sure this happened to the people that were assassinated. When we see an authority figure, especially a police officer, we've been indoctrinated our entire lives to go, oh, well, they're here for a reason. We need to talk to them. And no, mother clucker, you don't. And you need to ask for proper identification. And I bring this all up because abusers will use the police, the courts, DCS, to harass and intimidate. What is going to stop them from getting one of their buddies or themselves dressed up as a cop to harass, intimidate, etc.? Nothing. It needs this. This is a serious thing, and it needs to be dealt with. Hello, everybody. I will get to the question at the end of the show because I've got stuff to talk about, and I actually have a way to answer later on. Because before I didn't. But yes, please put question in front and then ask your question. So I want you guys to all be careful, because abusers love to use whatever they think is going to work to intimidate, to frighten, to harass, or to make bad things happen. It's how many times do we read in the news about, well, okay, there's the guy up in Washington who killed his 3 kids and then is out in the wild somewhere. I don't think they've caught him yet. So, it's abusers are abusive, kind of obvious, but they will do whatever they can to harm, to hurt, to debase, to make you less than, to take your joy away. Absolutely. And I do not think enough attention is given by the courts. And I do not think enough serious, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think a lot of the courts take this stuff seriously. I really don't. Especially with this case up in Washington where the guy took his 3 kids on a supervised visit, right? Or a visit. And he was supposed to return them on the end of the weekend. And no, he took them off to the forest and killed them. Yeah. So we need to demand reform for sure. And as survivors of abuse, we cannot just assume, because assuming makes an ass out of you and me. Remember, if you write out the word assume, you cannot assume somebody coming to your door has got good intentions, especially if you did not call the police, and especially if you were not expecting them. So you always, 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 if somebody is out there claiming to be an authority figure, you call and make sure that that person is who they say they are. Now, am I being overprotective? Hell yeah, because I don't want anybody dead. I don't. It's no, thank you. So yeah, you've got to take good care of yourself. You've got to question authority. I'm sorry, because not everybody is who they seem. Anyway, so that is the current event. All right. And this leads into, it is Father's Day. So for those of you who had good fathers, please tell them Happy Father's Day. For those of us who had feral fathers that, we're lucky we survived our childhood, take a deep breath, drink a lot of water. Today sucks. Just letting you know. So why do malignant narcissists eat their young? Holy cow. So narcissists, psychopaths, dark triads. Marsha it was so funny. She was like, wow, you're talking about the far end of the spectrum. And I'm like, wow, I lived with the far end of the spectrum. I think a lot of us do. And I don't think a lot of counselors understand that. I think they minimize it. And that makes me angrier than a wet hen. I'll tell you that much. And if you've ever seen a wet hen, you'll know what I'm talking about. So they minimize it. They're always like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Or, oh, blah, blah, bull tinky, it wasn't. Dark triads are the ones who harm, hurt, hit, put down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and do all these illegal things. That's a dark triad, people. If you have a therapist that's trying to minimize it, please fire them. Please fire them. So abusers eat their young because abusers do not feel the way you and I feel. They don't think the way you and I think. We would never look for a reason to harm someone. It's just not within our realm of thinking. It's just not what we do. Abusers, on the other hand, literally will look for excuses to hit, to harm, to debase, to put down, to humiliate, to whatever, because that builds up their ego. Because that's all they are, is ego. There is no there, guys. When I say there is no there, there is no there. There is no there. It is all ego. And that ego is ravenous and it needs to be fed 24/7. And one of the ways they try to feed it is to create drama and chaos within the family. So let's talk about what they do to the kids. Okay. So one of the things they do is they compartmentalize the kids into neat little boxes that they can deal with. Okay. Massively effed up. Massively effed up because kids are not little boxes. They don't fit in little boxes. They don't even know who they are yet. But a narcissist will tell them. Oh, absolutely. A narcissist will tell them who they are. Absolutely. So they'll put the golden child over here. Let's talk about the golden child first, because that seems to be the one that a lot of us had to deal with. The golden child is one that is molded to be exactly like the abuser. So the abuser will pick a child, literally just pick a child that is most like them and start molding them into a little mini me, like having them dress like them, having them talk like them, having them eat like them, having them whatever like them. Because a narcissist needs mirrors back to themselves that they are great. They can't handle dissent. Clearly, they can't handle opposing ideas. If somebody has a differing idea, they start calling names, or they get angry and they'll hit, or they'll do something else, like throw tear gas. They'll do things that because you disagree with them, they're going to punish you. That's what they do. So the golden child, two things are going on with the golden child. One, they're young. They're just young, and they are trying to please because that's what abusers teach us to do. That's why we have codependency issues. So they mold us and they try to make us into this mini me of them. Now, do the golden children turn into narcissists? They can. Absolutely. 110%. Yes. A lot of them do. Do they always turn into narcissists? No, that's the good news because this is a learned behavior. Now, of course, if you've been born without that empathy thing, then yeah, you're more likely going to turn into a narcissist. If you have empathy and your abuser is turning you into the golden child, at some point you're going to be like, wait a minute, this isn't right. And I've seen that happen too. So the golden child is molded to be exactly like the abuser. And then that abuser, this golden child can do no wrong. So they projection, all of who they want themselves to be onto this golden child. And this golden child has this insane thing to live up to. Because if they step out of line even this much, ooh, they get booted out of the golden child spot and get put into the scapegoat spot. So let's talk more about golden children. Then we're going to go on to scapegoats. So one thing that I have seen a lot of is siblings. So siblings that are narcissistic, siblings that are have been the golden child. So this one is 26 signs that your golden child sibling, and it says brother, but sisters can be that too, may be a narcissist. Okay. Okay. Is your golden child sibling? What's the matter, baby? Are you yawning? Oh, you're yawning. Hello. Hello, boo-boo. Sorry, this is Moana. Okay. Is your golden child sibling a narcissist? Okay, so 26 signs that they are the golden child and they might possibly be a narcissist. Number 1, they dismiss your feelings and opinions like the abuser. Number 2, they blame you for family conflict. It's all your fault. Somehow you created it. Number 3, blames you for your parents' abusiveness towards you. So it's your fault for being abused? What the bleep? Acts as a flying monkey for your narcissistic parent or parents. Number 5, doesn't ask about your life. It's always about them. Number 6, contradicts and corrects you and is condescending. I think the 3 C's: contradict, corrects, and condescends. Number 7, insists on being right. They're never wrong. Number 8, constantly competes. This is a big one. It's always a competition. Always a competition with a narcissistic sibling, with a golden child sibling, if they are narcissists. Number 9, interrupts, monologues, and interrogates. Like they just don't let stuff go, dear God. Or they will just talk and 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 talk. When I was on vacation this week, there was this person in the pool. Oh my gosh, I had to get out because they just didn't stop talking the entire time. And they were a family member. And I'm just like, okay, they got the point. You can stop now. But no, they just kept going and going and going and going. And I was like, I must leave before I say something. So I left. Anyway, and it was an adult they were lecturing. If it was a kid, it might have been a little different. But anyway, so yeah, they just don't let stuff go ever. Okay, where did it go? There it is. Okay. Projects hit their antagonism onto you. So, you're the angry one, you're the problem, you're this, you're that, you guns, right? If somebody's doing the you guns, there are 2 fingers pointing out at you, there are 6 pointing back at that person. So you can be sure they're talking about yourself. As soon as somebody starts doing the you this and you that to me, I'm like, y'all talking about yourself. And that usually ends the conversation. Okay. Acts bored or irritated when you speak. Expects attention, agreement, and or caretaking without reciprocation, is reactive to disagreement or perceived criticism. They can't handle criticism, is verbally and or physically threatening or abusive, is judgmental of your choices and lifestyle, disrespects your partner, respects your partner over you. They do that too. Withholds family information from you. Oh my God, we've talked about this. How many times have we talked about somebody dying in the family and you don't even find out about it until 6 months later? What the hell? Don't get me started. Okay. Allows your narcissistic parents to triangulate your communication, denies and gaslights you about family dysfunction, plays the cool rationalist. Oh, you're so emotional. You're not being rational about this. Oh, bull tinky. I'll tell you what, there is a huge difference between being irrational and being reactive. Let's talk about that for a moment. When you're being attacked and you're being poked at, you're going to react. I know I will. Being irrational would be doing it without a provocation. Okay. But you've got a reason. Okay. So, but they immediately, as soon as you get mad, well, you can't be mad. You're being irrational. You can't have an emotion. Oh, go pound sand. Anyway. Okay. Says or implies you're too sensitive when you react to abuse. OMG. Yes, they do that. You have a right to your emotions. They do not get to tell you what you are feeling. And if somebody tells you you are too sensitive, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but I'm going to reiterate this. If somebody tells you you're too sensitive, you tell them, you don't get to tell me what I'm feeling or the level that I'm feeling or what is okay or what is not okay. Go pound sand. Absolutely. They don't get to tell you that. Okay. Sets you up for sabotage. Oh yeah. Does not acknowledge your experience, knowledge, or compliments or accomplishments. Places their anger at your parents onto you. So they get mad at you for things that the parents did. Or if the parents, I don't know, if they gave you something or they did something and they're mad at them, they'll get mad at you instead of getting mad at the parents because you're the safer target. That's what narcissists do. They go for the safer target. They're not going to go confront the abuser. They're going to go for the person they think is the quote unquote weakest. Participates in your parents' smear campaign against you. So that is what golden children do. They act just like the abuser. And this is not normal, guys. In a healthy family, the kids get along. They do. Do they have sibling rivalry? Oh my God, yes, they do. But it's minor. It is minor. And the kids are taught respect. They are. I just spent a great week with my niece, Andrea, and her husband, Travis, and their 2 kids. And I loved the way they parented. I loved it. I was like, girl, you're doing it right, because the kids were, they'd get into a little, me. But then as soon as Andrea was like, okay, stop. They did. I mean, it's like it's okay for you to be angry with each other or irritated, but let's kind of take a break, and then they did. And it was normal, which was nice. So, yes, sibling rivalry is normal to a certain extent, it's small, but not to this, scratching eyes out. I need to be the top dog, blah, blah, blah. Not that. That is narcissistic. That's the competition stuff. So, the golden child is the golden child because the narcissist creates it. And especially if that child is born without empathy, they are more susceptible to being another narcissist. Absolutely. So now let's talk about the scapegoat. Let me get over here. 5 ways to heal from being the family scapegoat. Okay. So, what is a scapegoat? So, the narcissist cannot deal with anyone who sees the pink elephant taking a crap in the corner of the living room. That is usually who the scapegoat is because they see the dysfunction in the family. So they get labeled as the problem. Well, you're the problem because you see this, right? They don't say the see this part, but so the kid who is most functional, most sane is usually the one that gets labeled as the scapegoat. And they are treated mercilessly. So the golden child is allowed to abuse the scapegoat. It's not okay. Healthy families don't allow that. Healthy families do not allow picking on. I mean, to a small extent, but not like hurtful, nasty, vicious, that kind of thing. They don't allow abuse. They don't allow, favoritism. They don't. With a narcissist, there's always a favorite. There's always a favorite. It's always the golden child. And there's always a absolutely not favorite, which is the scapegoat. And they don't make any bones about it. They make sure they rub your face in the sand. They make sure that you know that you're not the favorite. Oh, yeah. So 5 ways to heal from being the scapegoat. Okay. Scapegoating represents a family story where one person is vilified. And it can switch. I want to be very clear about this. Narcissists have the kids switch roles. Okay. In my family, whoever the golden child was, for a long time, it was my oldest sister. And then she did something to piss my dad off. And so then she was kicked out. And, then it was my other sister. And then she was kicked out. And then it was my brother. And then he was kicked out. And then, it would go back and forth. And the weird thing is you can be a golden child and then the scapegoat. If you don't think that's confusing, holy crap. So you go from can do no wrong to you can't do anything right, depending on their mood. My dad was so crazy. He was an attorney. Surprise there. He was an attorney and he would literally write people in and out of his will depending on who he was pissed off at that week. And getting back to that whole they pick, they choose, narcissists do literally wake up in the morning and decide who they're going to abuse. They literally do. I had a professor in college who shall remain nameless because I don't want to be sued, but he would literally walk into the classroom and he'd stalk around and he'd be like, yeah, I need somebody to yell at to get out my anger. I'm like, y'all need to lie on a couch and talk to somebody about your mama. Seriously. I turned him in. He was an a-hole. Anyway, the point being, he picked on the wrong person. The point being is they wake up in the morning deciding what kind of trauma they're going to cause, what kind of chaos they're going to cause. The thing you have to remember, okay, is that division. Narcissists live for division because if all of us kids had gotten together as youngsters or as teenagers, we would have figured out that they were the problem, not any of us. It was them. And they don't want that. So it's always a case of let's create chaos. Let's create drama. Look over here. Don't look over here. That's exactly what narcissists do. And we are seeing that on a national level. So division is what they want. Unity is what they hate. Why? Because if the family gets together, the golden child goes, oh crap, this isn't right. And the scapegoat goes, hey, you know what? I'm not the problem. Narcissist has no power. You know what I'm saying. So they don't want us to get together. They don't want us to talk. They don't want us to be a cohesive unit as a family or as a nation if they happen to be a narcissistic leader. So the point being is that they will conquer by dividing. Divide and conquer. That is their hue and cry. So a narcissist will set kids up against each other and they will triangulate communication like nobody's business. They will lie, they will steal, they will cheat, and they will blame it on the scapegoat, and they'll lie to the golden child and they'll ignore the middle child, and then they'll just cause this rancor and hatred amongst the children. The beautiful thing of it is that can be healed once you get away from the abuser and you stop believing them, get into therapy, work on your self-esteem and your communication skills and your codependency and all of that fun stuff, and you open the lines of communication with the other siblings, that can get healed. Absolutely. So back to this. Adolescents are particularly vulnerable to being scapegoated because adolescents go through crap, man. When the hormones hit, oh Lord, the mood swings, poor babies. I wouldn't wish that on enemy. On an enemy. It's just, yeah, it's you know what I'm saying. Y'all remember like adolescence, don't you? I do. It was not fun. So they are usually targeted by the abuser because they're having genuine emotions. They're having genuine mood swings. They're going through something real, and narcissists hate that. They hate anybody that's having a genuine emotion or a genuine experience. It angers them to the core because they can't feel it, even if it's something that's disturbing and upsetting, like the mood swings from hormones and all of that stuff. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. So there's an episode in Star Trek Generations, episode 6, or season 6, sorry, episode 1, where Captain Picard finds himself trapped by enemy forces. His tormentors show him 4 lights repeatedly while asking him to name the number of lights. Each time he says 4, he's shocked, given a shock, and told there are 5 lights. Upon his escape, Captain Picard confides in the counselor that while there were truly only 4 lights, he began to believe that he saw 5. That is exactly what abusers do to the family. They gaslight, they lie, they tell the scapegoat that they're stupid, they tell the scapegoat that they're the problem, they tell the golden child that they can do no wrong, and both of them believe the bull tinky. Where are my F bombs? Dear Lord, they're here. Ah, there we go. That's what I think of that. So, yeah, they lie and the kids believe it. Remember, kids look to adults to see who they are. We look to them to be mirrored back to. Narcissists and dark triads are a funhouse mirror. They mirror whatever BS is going on in their own head. And usually what happens with the abuser is they take all of the negative parts about themselves that they can't stand, and instead of acknowledging them and in working on them and getting a therapist and being real, they spew them onto the scapegoat. Now suddenly the scapegoat is selfish and a problem and a burden and stupid and whatever else is going on in the narcissist's head. Mhm. That's what that's about, guys. If you were the scapegoat, you're not the problem. You're not stupid. You're not selfish, and you're not a burden. All of that crap that they told you was who they were. They are projecting 110%. And they also project all of the good qualities because it's all compartmentalized onto the golden child. So it's like kids, humans, mix of good and bad qualities. That's who we are. That's how we learn. That's what's around. And you guide and correct when things are, not helpful, and you praise when things are good. But narcissists can't do that. They can't handle the duality. So they have to have you're bad, you're good, black and white. It's the black and white thinking, all, nothing, good, bad, black, white. They cannot handle the plethora of colors, like my background, that are in the world. They can't. It just, nope, too much for them. So they have to make things very simple for their very simple little minds to comprehend. And then they go about and they damage like nobody's business. Hold on, we're going to get to the questions in just a second. So, that episode is very disturbing to watch because it is very much like what we all went through growing up with a narcissist. The family story is that there's one person that's the scapegoat. Sadly, in my family, my brother was scapegoated And he then turned into another person just exactly like my dad. I received an email from him last year before, basically accusing me of being the problem in the family and his family when I haven't spoken to him in like 10, 15 years. So, yeah, that's what they do. Instead of dealing with their own stuff and dealing with their own crap, they blame somebody else. They can never, ever, ever, ever take personal responsibility. A real person, a courageous person, a person with morals takes responsibility for their own F ups. We do. It's like when I screw up, and it does happen, I apologize sincerely. Like, oh my God, I am so sorry. I did not mean to hurt you. How do I make amends? How do I fix this? That's what a real person does. A narcissist, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, I'm sorry, you made me. Oh, I've heard that one. Yeah. No, no, no. So the siblings will absolutely, if they do not get help, if your siblings do not get help from having been raised by a narcissist, chances are very good that one of them is or more is going to turn into a narcissist because that's what they've seen. So this is why getting family therapy is so damn important. If you're leaving an abuser and you've got kids with them, you must get them into therapy. ASAFP. Absolutely. Okay, so 5 ways to heal from this. Practiced trusting yourself. If you grew up in the role of scapegoat, likely you were often not believed. Oh, wow. Does that resonate? Hell yeah. You may have been accused of lying when you were not. Your perspectives were not likely given much weight. Oh, fuck yeah. Sorry. But yeah, absolutely. I think I've told this story where we were in the van, and this was in the 1970s, and we had cruise control and it wouldn't disengage. And so the van just kept going and it was speeding up. It was very scary. And of course, my dad was, stamping on the brakes, slamming on the brakes, and it wouldn't stop, wouldn't disengage. And he kept doing the same thing over and over again. And I'm like, oh my God, this a-hole is going to kill us. And so I said, throw it into neutral, turn the car off. Problem solved. I was about 10 or 11. And he told me to shut up, number one. And finally, my mom started screaming at him and said, do what she says. And he was swearing at me like nobody's business. How dare I know something he didn't know? And so he did it, and he was able to coast over to the side of the road. And he just had this look of amazement on his face, like, how did you know how to do that? And I'm like, well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out if you turn the car off and put it in neutral, turn the car off, you're going to coast. So yeah, they and he was angry that I knew something he didn't. Absolutely. Our perspectives are not given due weight. It's not, because how dare we think something that they didn't think of? Seriously. Okay. Taking small steps. Okay. Okay. Your perspective is not given much weight. This naturally leads to someone not trusting themselves. Oh yes. Oh God, yes. None of us who were scapegoats came out of the relationship trusting ourselves. Holy cow. This is why therapy is so vitally important. You must work on your self-esteem. You must work on your intuition. Hold on. Your gut instinct. Trust your gut. Your gut will never lie to you. Your head will make up stories. Your heart will make up stories. The gut is a simple yes or no answer to a yes or no question. You must learn to trust your intuition. Every time I've gone against my intuition, it's always been bad. You need to listen to your gut. You do. Okay. Building self-trust is a step towards healing. This can include keeping promises to yourself that will reinforce your self-respect, such as commitment to not engage with someone who repeatedly belittles you. 110%. I do not negotiate with terrorists. I don't deal with trolls. I don't deal with a toxic person. I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're family. I don't care if they were friends. If they are toxic, bye-bye. Have fun. Go bother somebody else. I'm too busy living my life. Thank you for playing. Bye-bye. So yeah, you make sure your space is clear. Have an open mind. In families that scapegoat, the family narrative can become very black and white. someone who is right and someone who is wrong. If you were the scapegoat, chances are you were usually told you were the wrong one. In truth, there can be many ways of seeing any given situation. Practice looking for the middle ground. Buddhist concept, go for the middle path between the extremes and having an open mind. So, this is a very hard one for us to do when we first come out of the relationships. It's very scary to start going, oh, wait, there's more than two colors. There's a plethora, there's a rainbow of colors out there, of ideas, of ways of looking at things. So it's not all black and white. It's not all black and white, but we're told it's black and white, and it's a trained thing. So it's a learned behavior. So if you can learn it, you can unlearn it, and you can replace it with seeing the different perspectives and the different things. Now, that does not mean that you don't have an opinion on something. That just means that you're able to see different perspectives. And then you can formulate an opinion as to whether this is the right one for you or not. Whereas the narcissist goes, no, this is the way, and this is it, and you can't look at anything else. So no, you want to take a look. You want to take a look. All right. And I will get to the questions in just a moment. Okay. Practice looking for the middle ground. Yes. Practice self-compassion. Holy cow. We are so mean to ourselves as scapegoats. Why did I say that? Oh my God, that was so stupid. Why did I do that? Da, da, da. You know, when I was younger in my teens and 20s, maybe even on up into my 30s, I used to play the greatest hits of everything stupid I did in my head as I was going to sleep. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Compassion for you. Compassion for you. Okay. Empathy for you. You didn't know what you didn't know. Forgive yourself, move on. That's what you want to do. So always, always practice self-compassion. Receiving compassion can feel foreign to us as we've been scapegoated in childhood, making self-compassion difficult. Practice talking to yourself as you would a close friend. Seriously, talk to yourself the way you wished you were talked to. Making choices that reflect your worth. This can include taking breaks when you need to, making your preferences known, and forgiving yourself when missteps inevitably happen. Absolutely. So, mirror work, guys, I'm not kidding you. You're talking to your inner child. The inner child is the one that gets the most damaged from obviously the scapegoating, the golden child, blah, 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 because at that age, it believes everything that they have said. So, we need to help that inner child grow up and to trust us as adults and talk to them. So when we're doing mirror work, you're looking in your eyes in the mirror, okay? If you can. If you can't, you just say it out loud, okay? You don't need to necessarily look in the mirror, but it helps. So when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, instead of looking at all the things that are wrong, because that's a lot of times that's where we go. It's like, oh my God, these wrinkles, and oh my God, this is, oh my God. No, 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 stop. You're talking to your inner child. You don't care. They're beautiful. You're beautiful. Talk to your inner child. So you make eye contact and you go, hi, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? It's okay for you to like yourself and then walk out. That's all I want you to do every damn day. I do it when I'm brushing my teeth because I look in the mirror when I'm brushing my teeth. So I talk to myself when I'm looking in the mirror. And yes, people are like, oh my God, people will think I'm crazy. Okay, so, and who cares? Doesn't matter. If it helps you, who cares? If you're not hurting anybody, who cares? You see where I'm going with that? So yeah, mirror work is huge. Self-compassion is huge. Forgiving yourself is huge. So a book for that while I'm thinking about it, Colin Tipping's Radical Self-Forgiveness. There's also Colin Tipping, Radical Forgiveness. Facing Codependency, Pia Melody. Those are all great books. CPTSD, From Surviving to Thriving, Pete Walker, etc. All of the books I've been recommending forever and ever and a day, those are the ones you want to get to undo all of the scapegoating, golden child, ignored middle child. That's the other thing. Oh, and there's always a kid that's ignored. There's always a kid that's just like shoved to the side and just ignored. They can't be good enough. They can't be bad enough. Nobody really interacts with them. And they try to be bad enough so that they get attention. They try to be good enough so that they get attention. And the abuser just decides, nope, they're not going to pay attention to them. Normal parents don't do that. Let me just remind you of that. All right. Free yourself from the need for others' validation. So here's the deal: self esteem is not about other people, self esteem is about you. Self esteem is just that quiet voice in your head going, good job, keep going. Oops, you screwed up. Okay, make amends. Good, you did. Okay, forgive yourself. It's okay. Move on. That's self esteem. Other esteem is when we scream to the world, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, tell me how great I am, tell me how great I am. No, I need more, I need more. Tell me, that was good, right? I did good, right? That is a learned behavior from the narcissist. You don't need to do that. You need to validate you, because at the end of the day, you come into this world alone, you go out of this world alone, and in the meanwhile, you're with yourself 100% of the time. So you might as well be nice to yourself. Just makes sense. Okay. Um, and the last one, okay, stop looking for validation. Last one is seek help. Get a good trauma therapist. You're going to need it. I did. My siblings did. Well, the ones that went to therapy, and it does help. It really does, to have somebody who actually has been there, done that, which is why I love Mary Brownlee. Therapists that have been there, done that are good. The ones that haven't been there, done that, be careful. Some can do the clinical stuff and get it just by reading, but a lot can't, so it's good to know your therapist. What's their qualification? Have they been through trauma themselves? And a good therapist will answer you. A bad therapist will say, well, I don't want to talk about personal things. Go blow pound sand. Go blow and pound sand. Yes, exactly. So, okay. So to summarize, hello, Lucky. Why are you coming to see me now? It's not time to eat. I know. He thinks it's time to be fed. It's not. So to summarize, they eat their children. They don't really want children. They don't. It's people who want children, love their kids, love spending time with them, enjoy being with them. Yes, is it a pain in the patootie sometimes? Yeah, it can be. Kids can be so challenging. But for the overall part, there is love, there is respect, there is kindness, there is joy, there's fun, there's learning, there's growth, there's just hanging out and enjoying each other's company. That's what a healthy family looks like. An unhealthy family is one where there is division and there's chaos and there's drama and there's nastiness and there's physical abuse and mental abuse and emotional abuse. There's a golden child, there's a scapegoat, and there's an ignored middle child. That is what the abuser wants, so that they can stay in power, in control. Take it away from them. Get with a good therapist. Invite your siblings to go to therapy. Invite them to come to therapy with you if you want to repair that relationship. Absolutely. So yeah, that's what you got to do. Can golden children change? Yeah, they can. If they have a moral compass, if they have empathy in them, yeah, they absolutely can. If they don't, they won't. So there is that. Okay, let's hit the questions because I've gone way too long. Okay, I'm a therapist. How do I support my young adult clients when they are back in their families' homes for the summer? My clients are aware their families are disordered. Okay, so you give them a to-do. So it's dangerous to keep a journal with a narcissists. They'll go through the rooms. I've seen that happen. I've had clients go, oh my God, my parents went through my room. They found my journal. They read it, even as a young adult. So don't keep a journal anywhere where the abusers could possibly find it. Teach them meditation. Meditation is great. Going out on walks, being gone is a great idea. It's summertime. They're home for school. Okay. Go do stuff, or go say you're going to go do stuff and then go hang out at the park and read a book, It's weird because it's like I was saying, abusers don't really want children. They really don't. But yet they don't want them to go either. I mean, this is the weirdest thing I have ever seen in my life, is that abusers generally hate their own children. They do. Because you don't treat kids that way and love them. But they also are refusing to let them go. So when I was in my father's house, he absolutely did not want any of us to leave. We all left around 18. I left when I was 17 because I was just like, I'm done. Bye. See ya. And thankfully, I had an older sister that I could stay with and, get help from. So they want you there to abuse. Basically, they want to make you miserable. They want to make you as miserable as they are. So basically, encourage them to get out, encourage them to go hang out with friends, encourage them to go to the park, to read, to go to the library. That's a great one. Teach them meditation. That's also a good one. Teach them mirror work. That is something that they can do silently in their heads. They don't have to say it out loud. Just make sure that they're working on themselves. Prepare them. If the family is dysfunctional, prepare them. It's like, hey, your self esteem is probably going to take a hit while you're home. So you have to remind yourself that whatever they're saying is not who you are. And that's really important, you know, and that's something that Ruth Hornaday, who was my first therapist in Chico, taught me. It was like, hey, kiddo, what all of this BS that this man is saying to you is him. It's not you. So that's really important. Okay, back in their family, sometimes clients are aware that their parents are disordered. Yeah, be gone. Be gone. Have them be gone as much as possible. Have them go to the library, have them, you know, whatever, stay out with friends, whatever. My parents isolated me. I lived out in the country away from the town, so it was really difficult for me to get to friends' houses. But if they can get to friends' houses, if they can go to the library, they can go to the park, they can go, you know, whatever, work a summer job if they're old enough. You know, honestly, all of those things are good. The only problem with working the summer job is I have seen narcissistic parents steal the kids' income, which really pisses me off. Anyway, so there are things to do. If they're going to read books or if they're going to work on themselves, I would suggest the library, because then that way, you know, they don't have to necessarily check it out. They could stay at the library and read it. So that's what I would suggest. So I hope that answers your question. If it does not, you can always IM me on Facebook to get specifics, that kind of thing. And please do keep your questions short, because remember, I do work a full-time job. So there is that. Okay, next question. Does a golden child turn against the narc parent later in a later age and even hurts them? Narc sibling prevented anyone access to elder narc mom and suddenly narc died. They can't. They can. So I have seen narcissistic siblings yeah, do all sorts of things like that. They, again, it's all about power and control. It's all about power and control. So they will usually cut off access to whatever parent they are supposedly caring for so that nobody else can see them. That's a huge red flag. If that is going on, contact Adult Protective Services, contact an attorney, you know, just talk to them about, hey, I think this is elder abuse, you know. Have some of them died in their care? Yeah. And remember, narcissists are evil. I'm sorry. I'm not even gonna mince words. They're evil. Essentially, they want anyone who has something that they do not dead. They do. And they're not above doing bad things. They're not, especially if they're a dark triad. So, you know, if you got a little psychopath going with the Machiavellian and the narcissist, yeah, you betcha. So yeah, it could happen. Or it could be a coincidence, you know, unless you have evidence and proof, it's really hard to prove. So, but yeah, they do tend to isolate. They will grow up and then they will become the abuser themselves, and they will isolate the parent, and they will you know, drain them dry fiscally, or abuse them physically. Yeah, they absolutely can do all of that. You betcha. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Saw it when my mom was in the care facility. You bet. So, I mean, she was fine, but there were other people there that I was, you know, questioning. It's like, ugh. So anyway, yes, that is that. I think, is that it? And we are done. Okay. So if you guys have got questions that I did not get to, or anything you would like to see me do a topic on, please let me know. Not here in the chat, because the chat disappears. I don't understand why the chat is disappearing. But you can go to Facebook. You can message me and you can say, hey, can you do a show on whatever? Or, gee, I have a question about, and I will either do a video on it, you know, and I try to keep it as anonymous as possible. Or I will do a show on it, or, you know, that whole thing. So if you have questions, if you have topics you'd like to see me cover, go to Facebook, go to the chat. We need to talk with Chris Godinez, and you can just let me know there. Next week, I want to talk about why is vulnerability so frightening. I mean, like paralyzingly frightening to us. So, we're going to talk about being vulnerable. We're going to talk about being in love again. We're going to talk about the fear of being in love again if we've dated a narcissist. We're going to talk about, showing our emotions. We're going to talk about all of that and why it is so terrifying for us to do that and the things that we can do to practice to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, but also trusting our gut. So that is what we're going to talk about next week. All right, you guys drink plenty of water. It is supposed to be 114 today here in Phoenix. Dear God, have a great week. Take good care of yourselves, and I will talk to you next Sunday. Bye.